This is Inspiring Careers with your host, Ingrid Centurion. We're going to talk about fascinating technologies that will impact your future. Meet inspiring entrepreneurs and people that are making huge differences in the community and around the world. We're going to share career and life lessons of inspiration and success. Our mission is to inspire our viewers to make a better life for themselves by sharing our stories, our interviews, and documentaries. Please stay tuned as we have incredible guests coming up. Welcome to Inspiring Careers. Today we have Margaret Stockley with us. Margaret is the founder of the Aspire2 Group and is an instructor at Harvard Ed Portal, an executive trainer, registered nurse, certified wellness program coordinator, certified wellness coach, and level 2 tri-yoga teacher with certificates in project management and worksite wellness evaluation. For over 2 decades, she has been a visionary in the fields of health and wellness, bringing a unique and well-rounded perspective to the challenges faced by organizations and employees. She is acknowledged for her strategic and positive approach to developing innovative solutions that teach individuals how to shift cultures and build resiliency and engagement, and to achieve a life built on purpose and well-being. Thank you, Margaret, for being with us today.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me, Ingrid.
You have accomplished so much over so many years. I want to share your story with everyone today for those moms out there who have had children and then had to go back to school or had to lay off their careers for raising the children. And so where are you from?
I'm originally from Scotland, as you can probably hear by my accent, but I've actually lived in Massachusetts since 1997, so it's almost 21 years I've been here.
And you have traveled a lot.
Yes.
Following your husband's career. Tell us about that and how, you know, when you were younger, what did you always wanted to be? What were you really good at?
Okay, I was actually on track to be going to university to study music. I had a little bit of voice, I had viola, but I majored in the piano. And I was really thinking about, well, what do I do once I've got the certification, you know, the degree? And it was, well, you become a music teacher. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm just about to leave school, and then in like 4 or 5 years' time, I'll be back here teaching in a high school. And I thought, no, I couldn't face that. And one of the other passions that I had was just volunteering. Even as a teenager, I was a strong social advocate. And I decided I would be a nurse, so I was fortunate. I went to nursing school instead of going to university to study music.
Now, at that time, though, they encouraged women to go to nursing school. That was a common thing.
Where I grew up in Scotland, yes, some women were, or young women were encouraged to go to professional training, such as nursing. However, many more were encouraged to do trade certifications like being a travel agent or going to work as, in those days, a secretary in one of the big petrochemical plants that was in our town. We'd about 3 or 4 major global companies, and they were instrumental in hiring both men and women, and the women had the admin office jobs, and that's what they were promoting many of the women from my school to go to. But I wanted to do more than that. I wanted to be able to travel and just see the world and not be stuck in one place.
And you were a good writer, and you did a lot of sports.
I did.
You loved fitness.
I did.
You were a long-distance runner.
Yes.
So you had endurance to really. Did you run a marathon at a young age?
Not at that young age. I was taking part in competitions. We had a sports stadium, so I would take part in some of the sports. But I was really drawn to just running for fun and doing weightlifting for my own personal fun, just to stay healthy and fit, and I enjoyed doing it.
And then you met your husband, and then you had to move around. Tell us about how you
Yes,
traveled.
we did. I had just given birth to my first daughter and was taking 6 months off, which was my allocated maternity leave, and was looking forward to returning to work. And he was offered a job in England. This was 300 miles away, so a little hard for me to commute to work. And 300 miles away, I also was starting afresh and had no structure there for child minding. And also I just had a newborn baby. I wasn't about to just drop my newborn baby off with strangers.
Exactly.
So with that said, I began to integrate into the community and found, as luck would have it, I was able to connect with the local teaching college. And one of my other certifications was as a nursery nurse, which is something they don't have here, but I did nursery nursing and then nursing. And the college were training young women to be these nursery aides nursery nurses who could either work for private families or in state-run social work departments, or even in the NICU units in hospitals or in children's units. And I was then able to basically take what I had learned and bring the girls from the college to my house and supervise them and train them, if you like, and assess them in that home environment, because that was one of the required elements that they had to pass. So it was really good to be able to do that. And then I had the perfect source to have a nanny who could then look after my girls when I returned to work. And I did. I returned to work 2 years after that, and had one of the nannies that had qualified from the local college.
So your nanny really helped you pursue your career and your education and your business, and that was a big part of that.
Yeah, having a nanny was ideal because A, she was living, well, she went home at night, so she wasn't really live-in, but she was there throughout the day.
Right.
So on the days when I would sometimes be working from home, she still knew that even though mum was in the building, mum was at work, and the girls knew that as well, my children, that mummy was home, but mummy was in the office. And I would come out now and again, say hello, have a cup of tea, and then go back to work again.
And then when was the next move? Then you moved from England to
America.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And again, starting afresh.
New.
Everything was starting new, but by then I had been already having connections with writing. There were editors that I was liaising with, so I was still able to work remotely, still with the editors of magazines that were in the UK, and that worked. And I did a couple of short stories that were published as well. And then I discovered yoga and was able to, through other connections I have, be able to present at seminars and at bigger conferences on aspects of health and wellness.
And you always had a passion for writing, you said,
I
even
did.
as younger. So you were writing articles.
Since
your passion was writing,
child.
and then you decided you were going to write this book.
Combine it.
And tell us about what inspired you to write your first book, because you've written 2 books now.
I have 2.
And tell us about your books.
Thanks, Ingrid. My first book came about through my desire to help as many people as possible. I could reach a wider audience than I could in the conferences. And I was taking yoga philosophy and melding that with what I knew of the research related to wellness, and combine them. So it's pretty unique from that perspective, taking the ancient yoga philosophy and today's current research. And what it was able to do was take the 5 senses and show how it's all connected with our ability to make good decisions. Do I really want to have that second piece of cake? Or what elements are actually impacting us? What are our desires? And it's not just a case of this is the issue. There were also guidelines in the book of what you can do.
Now remember, Margaret, I read your first book.
Yes.
And I actually really learned a lot in that book because I had never done yoga. I did a lot of weightlifting, I did a lot of sports, but I've never done yoga. But with all of my aches and pains, I decided to go to yoga. That was the year we were together.
Yes, yes.
And after reading your book, I started to understand what yoga was really about, because I would go in there and it was so hot, Bikram. And I read your book and it really made me understand it, and so I was so glad to have read it, and thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I haven't read your second book. I need to read your second one. Tell me about the second one.
The second one is specifically for the wellness program managers who are working in a corporate environment. These are the wonderful people who are tasked with running their company's wellness program. These are the areas that cover nutrition, tobacco cessation, fitness, mobility, social aspects, stress management. All of this comes together with ways in which you can create a workforce that is healthier, and it drives down the costs, the healthcare costs of the company. It's a win-win for both the employees and for the employer. But there's a lot of data out there, a lot of confusion, and I've brought as much of the information as I could into 7 different steps. And in the book, I also add in templates that HR personnel can use. There's examples of material that's filled in blank templates. There's an A to Z of resources. There is all the research that is mentioned is at the back of the book as well, and there's also over 100 different ideas that are free or very inexpensive that these program managers can actually implement to their employees.
Okay, that's great. So what does aging well mean to you?
For me personally, it's being able to stay healthy in order to travel, to socialize, and just do the things that you want to do.
And this is why fitness is so important.
Especially now. Yes.
And not just the physical exercise, but like you say in your book, making the right decisions. And it's hard to stay in shape.
Yes, it's not just physical, it's your emotional and your social well-being too, and your spiritual side as well.
And tell us how you're expanding your business, because you started your business in 2013.
I did. I'd just returned from Montreal. I'd spent a 2-year assignment up in Montreal. So yet again, there I was. Circumstances had said, it's time for another trip somewhere. And that was a fabulous experience. Now, I started my corporate wellness consulting business in 2013. And having worked in that space for the last few years, I'm now at the stage where I'm expanding the business starting in early 2018. And it's taking the wellness certification program into the 21st century. Basically turning the current training on its head. So instead of it being like this, I'm inverting it. Okay. And the area at the top was typically everything that you'd learned in the classroom that you were now busy working and trying your best to remember what were the key salient points from the training that you wanted to implement in your professional environment. Now, by reversing it, most of what you learn will be available to you at your place of work, not just online, but physically as well through a concierge service that we're providing. It's very unique.
And so what do you say to those people that never make the time to exercise?
I'm not in a place of lecturing. I would like to find out why. Right. Why they don't feel that they have the time.
They say they don't have time, it's too expensive. You know, we want to get them out there. It's so important. It's such a big part of life.
As I said in my second book at the end, there's over 100 examples of initiatives that can be done for wellness that are free or low cost. And by low cost, I'm meaning like $10 or less per person, and most of them are free. It's about finding your why. In April of this year, I was drifting. I was looking for another initiative. Yes, I was doing a lot of walking. I was doing weightlifting, but it wasn't fulfilling enough. And I thought, what else do I need? And I thought, there's a road race coming up in Falmouth, Massachusetts. It's tough. It's not just 10K, it's 10K plus. It's 7 miles. And a lot of it's uphill. I think there's more hills than there is flat. And that was my challenge.
That's good.
I set myself a challenge. That was my why.
Right.
And I am a certified wellness coach. And that's one of the things is we start with people wherever they are. And everybody's at different levels, has different situations. And we peel back the layers of the proverbial onion to find out what's your why. Why do you want to do this?
And that's the way we get them moving.
Absolutely, it's finding your why.
So where can people find out more about your business, and where can they buy some of your books?
Okay, books are freely available, you know, on any of the online resellers, Amazon, Barnes & Noble. You can also contact me directly at my website. There's plenty of ways to ask me through there. And the website is the Aspire2Group.com.
Okay. Now, my last final questions are, so if you were an animal, what animal would you be?
Oh, that's an easy one. I would be a golden eagle. That's a beautiful, magnificent bird. They reside in Scotland and they have a wingspan of 6 feet, and their feathers truly are golden. And when they're up in the sky against the blue sky, and you can see me reminiscing here, flying high over the lochs and the mountains, the sun catches their feathers and the feathers actually shimmer like gold.
Really? Wow, I'm gonna have to see
beautiful,
that.
Beautiful
We're gonna
bird.
have to show everybody what that is.
Beautiful bird.
And what would your superpower be?
Invisibility. There are lots of pressures. People with young kids can relate to that. And wouldn't it be nice to just like be by yourself, where nobody could find you and you could just take yourself off someplace? You know, not all of us can go off and say, see you in a little while. We have to be present. But I think to be able to just make myself invisible and just, and just, you know, take a few meditation breaths or something would be good.
And what is your philosophy by which you live?
It's what can I do for you that will help your life to be better.
And that's for sure. You've always been extremely helpful and informative, and I thank you for being on the show today, and I hope your business does very well in the future, and thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Ingrid. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
It's been lovely. Thank you.